And we do that now with Elon Musk, that is saying, hey, he wants to create a third party, call it the America Party. And this is all coming from the major fallout that he had with the president. So I want to bring up our next guest here. You know him here on Live Now from Vox, frontier of the program, Rich Rubino, political analyst. Thanks so much for being here, Rich. And so what do you make here of Elon Musk? It's been tried before with a third party. Do you think he's going to be successful?
Well, he certainly has the name recognition and he has the financial backing behind that. And the past successful third-party campaigns certainly include Ross Perot, who ran as an independent in '92 and garnered 18.9%, but no electoral votes. He then formed the Reform Party. But what happened with him is his flagship issue at the time was deficit reduction. And both Bill Clinton, the Democrat, and George H.W. Bush, the Republican, enveloped that into their campaigns. And eventually, Perot did not really have any issues to run on. So that's what often happens. There's other precedent for that as well. For example, the Populist Party back in 1892, James Weaver was the nominee, and part of there was opposition to the gold standard, having more currency, doing more for farmers, having a more munificent government services regime. And he actually won 22 electoral votes in 5 states in 1892. But by 1896, William Jennings Bryan became the Democratic presidential nominee, and much of the agenda of the Populist Party became part of the Democratic platform. So that's basically usually been the precedent for third parties. The only one that's probably sustained itself was the Republican Party. The Republican Party was formed in Ripon, Wisconsin back in 1854. But at the time, the Whig Party was basically dying. There were a few other parties like the Free Soil Party. And eventually you went from the Whig Party and the Democratic Party to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So the American political system, generally speaking, has had 2 hegemonic political parties, but there have always been third parties that have tried to get into the fray.
Now, Rich, do you think this could be more of an issue down ballot, where Elon could have a bigger gains, maybe when it comes to House, not even Senate, but maybe just House representative seats?
I do, and I think this is the biggest fear for the Republicans. What could potentially happen is you could have an Elon Musk-sponsored candidate running against a Republican in a seat that is in a Republican seat, and what could happen is they could split each other's votes. So you could have a third of the vote going to the Republican, a third going to the Elon Musk candidate, and that could allow a Democrat who in a district where the Democrats are the minority party, maybe winning 40% of the vote, which they would normally win, and that could be enough for an election, and that could certainly be enough for the Democrats to take over the House of Representatives in the 2026 midterm elections. So I think that's the worst fear, is the spoiler effect, that they're simply going to siphon votes from the Republican Party and elect a Democrat.
And at this moment, it seems like the Democrats would welcome that, right? That's why we haven't really heard too much on their side about Elon Musk and this third-party initiative.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting when the Green Party, for example, you've had scenarios back in 2004. At the time, actually, Ralph Nader was a former Green Party candidate, but he ran as an independent. And you had a scenario where many Republicans were out trying to get signatures to put Ralph Nader's name on the ballot, not because they've all of a sudden become born-again Nader's Raiders, but rather because they believe that Ralph Nader would siphon votes away from the potential Democratic candidate. So there's always that scenario, and that's always been the problem for third parties. How they get a message out, how they convince the American people to vote for something other than one of the 2 major parties, and how they convince the body politic, that is, that a vote for them is not a wasted vote. You saw this, for example, in John Anderson when he ran in 1980. He was a Republican candidate, lost the Republican primaries, a liberal Republican when they had them, stayed in the race and ran as an independent. And early in the race, he was at 28% of the vote, believe it or not, 28%. And it looked like he may actually win the election. But gradually, the Carter campaign who he was siphoning votes away from, began to say that a vote for John Anderson is a vote for Ronald Reagan. And election day, John Anderson mustered just 6.6% of the vote that year.
And Rich, I mean, let's look back here at, this coming Sunday is going to be the 1 year anniversary of President Trump and the assassination plot for him there in Butler, Pennsylvania. And it was right after that event where Elon Musk put his endorsement on then President Trump. And now we are here at this moment where it seems like the relationship has broken up, and now Elon Musk starting this party. Did you ever think that it was going to happen within a year?
No, I didn't. No, not at all. It's a very interesting alliance. I think that Elon Musk was seen as being allocated to the Democratic Party in part. A lot of people viewed him as a liberal. I think that he really decided that he would hitch his wagons with Donald Trump. He gave more money to Trump and Trump super PACs than any other individual. He gave money to Republican candidates running for Congress, Republican candidates even running for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. It was a very quick scenario, but it's interesting you talked about the assassination attempt. Back in 1912, Theodore Roosevelt was the Progressive Party candidate. He was actually a Republican, and this is the beginning of the primary system, and he ran against the incumbent president, William Howard Taft, and he actually won the primaries but lost in the convention. Then he said, I'm stripped to the buff, and I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. That's where the slogan hat in the ring came from. And he actually ran as a Progressive Party candidate, and he actually was shot in the chest in one of his speeches in Wisconsin, and he later said, a bull moose would not stop me from speaking. And so he was actually shot, and he actually won 27.4% of the vote that year. That's the largest result of any third party. He even defeated the incumbent president that year, William Howard Taft, but partly he siphoned off votes from him, and Taft siphoned off votes from each other. And Democrat Woodrow Wilson, the governor of Jersey, landed up being victorious in that election.
It's funny and interesting to see just how history sort of parallels each other so many times, and you're able to see that over and over again. Rich, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. You're always a wealth of great knowledge and insight, so we appreciate it. You have a great night.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You take care. All right, everyone. We will take a 2-minute break on Live Now from Fox. We'll continue to get you updates on all of the major stories, including the horrible Texas flooding, get insight from experts and analysis as well, technical assistance from these water rescues. That's coming up in about 45 minutes.